नुकतेच संपन्न झालेले आहे. आज दिनांक 22 फेब्रुवारी 2022 रोजी आभासी कार्यशाळेच्या दुसऱ्या दिवसाचे दुसरे सत्र आता संपन्न होते आहे. आजच्या या ज्ञानसत्रात मी महाविद्यालयाचे प्राचार्य आदरणीय डॉक्टर सुजित मेत्रे सर, महाविद्यालयाचे उपप्राचार्य माननीय डॉक्टर संदीप तुंडुरवार सर, आजच्या सत्राला मार्गदर्शक म्हणून लाभलेले सन्माननीय डॉक्टर गोपीचंद निंबर्ते सर, आभासी कार्यशाळेचे समन्वयक डॉक्टर अनिल शेंडे सर, डॉक्टर राजेंद्र नाईकवाडे सर, IQAC समन्वयक डॉक्टर प्रांजली काने मॅडम, डॉक्टर नरेंद्र रक्ताटे सर, तसेच कार्यशाळेला आभासी पद्धतीने उपस्थित असणारे संशोधक विद्यार्थी, संशोधन मार्गदर्शक आणि समस्त उपस्थितांचे मनस्वी स्वागत करते. आभासी कार्यशाळेच्या आजच्या सत्राला मार्गदर्शक म्हणून डॉक्टर गोपीचंद निंबर्ते सर उपस्थित आहे. सर आज रोडमॅप्स फॉर रिसर्च या विषयावर मार्गदर्शन करणार आहेत. तत्पूर्वी मी सरांचा परिचय करून देते. सर गेल्या 20 वर्षांपासून विद्यार्थ्यांना अविरत ज्ञानदान देण्याचे कार्य करीत आहेत. सर VNIT येथे सामाजिक शास्त्र व मानव्य विद्या शाखेचे विभाग प्रमुख म्हणून देखील कार्यरत आहे. कवी कुलगुरू कालिदास विद्यापीठाच्या अभ्यास मंडळावर सर अध्यक्ष म्हणून कार्यरत आहे. गेल्या 12 वर्षांपासून सर हॉस्टेल वार्डन म्हणून देखील सर कार्य सांभाळत आहे. सरांचे विविध राष्ट्रीय आणि आंतरराष्ट्रीय पातळीवर जवळपास 80 संशोधन पेपर विविध परिषदांमध्ये प्रसिद्ध झालेले आहे. सरांचे विविधांगी विषयावर 10 पुस्तके प्रकाशित आहे. सर PhD चे मार्गदर्शक म्हणून सुद्धा कार्य करतात. तसेच विविध विद्यापीठातील PhD प्रबंधाच्या मूल्यांकनाचे कार्य देखील सर करीत आहेत. सामाजिक बांधिलकी जोपासत विविध NGOशी सर जोडलेले असून अनेक सामाजिक कार्यात सक्रियतेने सरांचा सहभाग नेहमीच असतो. असे बहुआयामी आणि व्यासंगी व्यक्तिमत्व आजच्या सत्राला मार्गदर्शक म्हणून उपस्थित आहे. सरांचे मी महाविद्यालयाच्या वतीने पुनश्च एकदा स्वागत करते आणि डॉक्टर गोपीचंद निंबर्ते सरांना रोडमॅप्स फॉर रिसर्च या विषयावरील मार्गदर्शनाकरता सन्मानपूर्वक आमंत्रित करते. डॉक्टर गोपीचंद निंबर्ते सर.
धन्यवाद मॅडम. नमस्कार सर्वांना. आमचे अतिशय जवळचे मित्र आदरणीय नाईकवाडे सर यांना मी मनापासून धन्यवाद देतो की त्यांनी आज तुमच्या हे एस्टिम्ड मेथडॉलॉजी वर्कशॉप मध्ये मला बोलायची संधी दिली. तसेच अदर जे ऑर्गनायझर्स आहेत त्यांना पण मी मनापासून धन्यवाद देतो की त्यांनी आज मला इथे बोलण्याची संधी दिली. तर विल गो विथ आवर प्रेझेंटेशन. And I think that it will be better for our participants. 1 minute. Is it visible? Sir, दिसतंय का?
सर हो दिसतंय नीट.
दिसतंय ना? बरोबर. So title of my presentation is Advanced Research Methodology and Roadmap for Research. Generally, whenever we register for PhD or when we go for the certain research, there is a big question in front of us: how, where, in which manner I should carry out my research work. So regarding this aspect, to eliminate, to eradicate, and to maintain a balance in our research activities, so certain points or guidelines I would like to suggest through my presentation. This presentation will be useful to our guide, our supervisors, as well as our research students. So I would like to share certain things with you. We'll go accordingly. Nowadays we see we are on smart mode, because even that our workshop is virtual mode, and we are quite becoming the techno savvy, and we are getting the knowledge to handling the certain technical gadgets like computer and mobile and etc. So same thing we can, when we can in our research work, obviously it become a smart research work. And ultimately nowadays we know that in spite of traditional research methodology, just I kept the title of my research, that is Advanced Research Methodology and Roadmap Towards It. So according to me, a very simple matter that what is been by research? Research कशाला म्हणतो? Generally research. Some things are there. To create something more over there, that we call as research. And need is the mother of research. Whenever the man requires something else, that man follows and intervented towards it to identify the something new as a part of research. That is why we sometimes we see discovery and all, so which is the part of research. We are in the field of the education, and generally we cannot segregate the research from the education sector, because it's a part of our teaching learning process. And till retirement, we should be indulgence, we should be involved in the research. So that is why research is an essential factor, essential component, essential factor which is required to us to carry forward it. So that is why from the joining to the particular post as assistant professor, lecturer, whatever it is, maybe associate professor or professor, each and every time we need to do the research, and how that research make smart ways, or how we can utilize it in appropriate ways, and how it can make it a very interesting ways, that quite need to learn, and through that just we'll go it. That is called as a research. Means systematic scientific inquiry conducted under the control condition in which data are carefully observed for the purpose of determining the relationship between one or more factors. Whenever we go for the particular research, so we need to identify something new as a part of conclusion or as a part of recommendation and suggestions, that we call as research. Something should be new. It would not be as usual or carried out, or some means required changes we need, and accordingly we pursue our research and we draw the conclusion for the development of the humanity, or development for the nation or particular society or community. That is the ultimately aim to carry out the research, and that particular phenomenon, that complete process we define as a research. Steps of the scientific research means whenever we go, suppose if you take the example of the PhD, I think that most of the students are pursuing the PhD, or some are the supervisors over there. So I think this is useful to them, means how and which manner we need to carry out it. There are certain steps which are helped to carry out our roadmap for our research, that is selection and defining of the topic. Whenever we think about the research, or generally maybe even it is applicable for in small way for writing the research paper, or just because writing the research paper is also the required while pursuing the research. So selection and defining of topic. Whenever we think about the particular research, so for that we have the hypothesis in our mind, we have the common suggestion or a preparation in our mind towards our research. Which type of topic will be suitable for me, and how it can be conducted, or how I can be channelize it as a frame of my research. So that is a simple imagination, simple thinking about our research rise in our mind, and that we express through our research. So selection and defining of research is an important factor or important steps to begin the research particular for us. So that is selection and define. So now which type of topic would be suitable for me. Sometimes the students come to us and they ask which type of topic will be suitable for us, which will my first area, where is actually I have the interest and all. So accordingly we need to identify the particular topic, and we have to follow the certain things accordingly. What happened? Selection. When we frame the topic, it should be attractive, impressive, and informative. It should be constructed in a very smart way. It would not be very lengthy. It would not be very detailed and etc. It would be a systematic, a very smart way. In that way, the common briefing outline about our research, it's a mirror. It is a particular, the remarkable features of your research which reflect through your topic. So topic should be interesting, effective, and informative. Take care of it while fixing the topic for your research. Second thing, review of literature. Whenever we think about our research, so we have to take care of our availability of the literature. Sometimes what happens, so many students are there, once they selected the topic, after that they follow the literature. before selecting the topic, if just to take the review of the literature, which type of literature is available for the certain research, that need to identify. Sometimes what happens, just we select the topic and we don't have the literature. So in that case, it might have some confusion would be rise in the minds of the researcher. So avoiding the certain situation, we have to keep the tab over it where the literature will be available. Like primary literature, secondary literature, some gadgets, some data, primary data and all. So which is a part of literature, some books, some sites, some professional bodies, etc., which provide the knowledge to us as a part of providing the literature. So just we keep the tab and collect it with you, with us. And once you collected it, segregate it, mobilize it, draw the points. In that way, you can inculcate in your literature, in your research work or in your thesis. So review of literature. Generally, as per your topic, as per your specialization, as per your subject, there are different ways of the literature. Like suppose our work is on the table, so accordingly we can collect the literature, maybe books, other resources, other sources, and all. If our research is field work, or maybe it is connected to the particular that things, particular field work or particular case study. So accordingly, we collect the literature. Then framing of the hypothesis. Framing of the hypothesis is also the one of the essential component in our research. Generally in social sciences, maybe it is psychology, philosophy, history, or geography, or sociology, economics, etc. There is a requirement of the hypothesis. As per the code of conduct, or as per the assumption, minimum 4 to 5 hypothesis should be inculcated in our research. 4 to 5. Generally, hypothesis is a simple phenomena which rise in our mind, which reflect the imagination of your research. See, whenever we frame our hypothesis, that time always there should be the two variables. Just mind it. Two variables means, like in simple, in Marathi, we can say it. असं केल्याने असं होतं. Like if there is a poverty, obviously there will be the high crime rate. जर गरिबी असेल तर तिथे गुन्हेगारीचा रेट जास्त राहील. And in that way, when we put this hypothesis in your research, it should be cross-check and tallied when cross-check of the hypothesis is there. Last or end part of your research. It should be matched, it should be tallied, it should be cross-checked appropriately. That we call as a framing of the hypothesis. So hypothesis should be concrete, reliable, adjustable, and convenient towards your research. Okay, and maybe on that based, accordingly we can frame our tables, accordingly we can prepare our questionnaire, accordingly we can prepare the data in our interview schedule and etc. So framing of the hypothesis means nothing but the imagination, the draft, or your thinking about your own research. Sometimes might have, maybe due to the busy schedule of our supervisor, or maybe some confusion or some interpersonal skills and all, might have we want time to get or seeking the knowledge from our supervisor. So in that case, just we have the depth in our own knowledge, and accordingly we try to frame our hypothesis. So that hypothesis play an important role to construction of our thesis. Then next one is that is developing research design. As well, like hypothesis, research design is also very essential. I would like to suggest to the budding researcher, or those are pursuing PhD in the particular the sector as per their specialization, minimum 2.5 years, maximum 3 years, they have to wind up their research. Don't keep it prolonging. Otherwise, it's very difficult to maintain the continuity and all. So like that, we have to frame the design of our research in that way, which would be finished in stipulated way. So generally, for example, suppose your work is for research, like field work. For example, like the study of the economical problems of the farmers in the Vidarbha region of Maharashtra. So this is your title. Like Vidarbha, there are 11 districts and there are so many talukas. So in that way, how much respondents you will be fixed for your data collection method like this? Will it possible to you to visit simultaneously to all the district, like 11 districts, and how you can be segregated, and how you will be select sampling and etc. So that will be the question mark. So better that minimum 2 to 3 districts you can take, and accordingly you can maintain your the planning of your research. So that is also very essential to maintain it. So keep your area limited. In that way, we can focus on the restricted area or reliable areas, and you can carry out research in appropriate way. Then data collection, classification, and interpretation of the data. Now the data collection, that is the main core unit of our research. Generally basic sciences or generally for social sciences, data collection is very important phenomena. On that based, we draw our conclusion, we draw our statistical analysis, and certain things have been constructed. So now data collection, there are two types of data collection method: primary and secondary. Generally primary, the resources are available and just we segregate, we go through it, we draw the conclusion, we just channelize it accordingly, we keep up, we put some points and just we note down and we inculcate in our research, that we call as the primary. Secondary means actually just we follow from other resources and all, that called as the secondary data. So in that way, again, as per the requirement and intensity of our research, just we can follow the primary and secondary data collection. So see your time, your scope, your limitation, and your certain availability of the data, and ensure that you can segregate it, you can collect it. So that is a data collection method. Generally for data collection, like in our sociology, psychology, and etc., in certain subjects, we go for the field work. Generally survey method, observation, these are the tools through that we can collect the data. Suppose you have selected your field work and you have fixed the particular area, you need to go to that area and fill up the questionnaire or take the interviews from the respondents, or जो उत्तरदाता रहते हैं उनसे अपन जो basic information as a part of questionnaire or through that our interview schedule we can collect it. So how it can be collected, what the time will be required for that, and how we can approach to the respondents, how is their availability, and what type of questions will be beneficial over that, and how through that how we can get a concrete data. So accordingly we need to frame our questionnaires and that interview plan, and we have to collect the data accordingly. Once we collected the data, like 300 respondents there, 400 there, 500 there, like this. So sometimes, like if we keep the 500 respondents, see in that particular area at a time, when we visit to the 500 respondents, it is not a simple task. So in that case, we have to make it as a sampling type. Like 500 are there, so we can visit to the to the 100 respondents, and rest of the 400 we can plan it accordingly, because quite meeting time and all it's required. So we need to do a smart way. On that base, we can draw the conclusion. And once you collected the data, then second step, that is classification or segregation of your data. How to classify it? There are different tools, there are different techniques. It's not means within the stipulated we cannot complete it, because there are so many statistical methods, there are so many tests and all. So through that, as per our convenience, we can get, because next slide we'll see accordingly, like how it can be classified. So that data would be classified, and then data would be classified in master tables. We need to learn it, how to create the master table. Those experts are there who will teach accordingly to your statistical analysis and all. They will tell you that how to frame the master table, and how to make it a small tables, and how to write the illustration of the each and every table with these stipulated suitable conclusion. So that would be incorporated in your classification of the data. Then interpretation. See, once you prepare your master table, after that small tables will be framed, and below it we need to write down something else: interpretation, illustration, the particular information which you have collected earlier through your data collection method, classified it, and then you need to interpret it. See, like in that particular reason, there are 200 respondents or 300 respondents are there. Out of 300 respondents, 200 respondents, they express that they are from BPL family. 100 are there, they won't tell that, they did not tell that they are not, they are from upper strata or upper class. Now you need to draw that 200 respondents are from poor community, 100 are not from poor community. So in that case, you need to express why the 200 means majority is in BPL family, is in below strata, below, or they are in economical challenge class, which we need to interpret. We have to put that, we have to identify the reason why they are very poor, what is the main reasons behind it, which need to identify, and accordingly we have to be interpreted. And finally, when again we draw the conclusion, that time just we try to incorporate, we try to attach the particular sentence with our conclusion, suggestions, and recommendation that is required. Verification and generalization of the data. Now the verification. Now verification. Once we interpreted our data, that need to verify it. Sometimes we thought that might have some manipulation or something else, which we smell in our research. So in that way, which need to verified. And generally we go for that verification, cross checking, try to test it authenticity and etc. So that we call as a verification. And generalization means we try to fit our certain things with the current situation. And anyhow, because this we generally, obviously in our research we try to maintain the balance between past tense and future tense, and we try to incorporate it accordingly in the present tense. So that we call as a generalization. Sometimes we take any suitable problem and under it we work, so that we call as a generalization. Some of the methods which used in the research: sample survey, case study, observation, and experimental. Generally, sample survey. In our social sciences, there is a requirement of the sample survey. As I told you, suppose there are 400 respondents, hardly we can meet to the 100 or 200 respondents, and generally we try to manipulate the data of the 200 respondents. Anyhow, on sampling basis, we can get a clue, we can get idea. So what is the situation existing in the particular area? Then we can get a clue. Suppose there is a more incidences. There are the more incidences of the farmer suicide. There are the more incidences of the slum areas. There are more incidences of the corruption-related issues. There are more incidences of the traffic problem and all. So on that overall situation, suppose we go for the 100 sampling, anyhow we can get something else as a part of sample survey. We go for that, and on that best we make assumption. Just we have idea about it, and then rest of the things we try to adjust. Sometimes, suppose 500 respondents are there to attaching or to approaching the simultaneously to 500 respondents, quite not a simple task. Okay, so that we call as a sample survey. Sampling, we go for sampling. Second is case study. Just I would like to suggest you, whenever we construct our thesis, minimum 2 to 3 case studies would be required to incorporate indulgence in our research work. You have to go minimum 2 to 3 case studies. If you incorporate it, if you keep that case studies in our research, so it gives the concreteness and factualness in your research. But actually, what case study means? What is the meaning of case studies? Case studies is a holistic, detailed study of particular aspect or particular unit or particular thing that we call as a case study. केस स्टडी मध्ये काय असतं नेमकं की आपण आपलं जे रिसर्च आहे त्याला रिलेव्हंट असणारी माहिती आपण सविस्तरपणे कशी देऊ आणि आपलं रिसर्च त्या केसशी कसं संबंधित आहे हे सांगण्याचा आपण प्रयत्न करतो. त्याला आपण केस स्टडी म्हणतो. म्हणजे केस स्टडी अंतर्गत त्याची वैशिष्ट्ये, कारणे, त्याचे परिणाम आणि त्याचं युटिलिटी टुवर्ड्स दी सोसायटी असं एकंदरीत होलिस्टिक डिटेल स्टडी करून आपण आपल्या रिसर्चशी कोरिलेट करण्याचा प्रयत्न करतो. तर मिनिमम 2 ते 3 केस स्टडी आपल्या रिसर्च मध्ये जर आपण इन्कॉर्पोरेट केल्यात, आपण टाकल्यात, तर ते एक कॉन्क्रीटनेस त्याला येतं. त्यानंतर आहे ऑब्झर्वेशन, दॅट वी कॉल्ड एज ऑब्झर्वेशन मीन्स निरीक्षण. ऍक्च्युअली व्हेन वी गो फॉर द फील्ड वी हॅव द ऑब्झर्वेशन. अगेन देर आर 2 टाइप्स, पार्टिसिपेटिव्ह, नॉन पार्टिसिपेटिव्ह. Participative, just we go and directly participate. Suppose if you selected our topic as a slum area, directly we go and we identify the certain content, certain problems, and we indulgence in our research. That we call as a participative. Non-participative, just we belong from that particular issue and just we observe the things and we write down in our thesis. That is non-observation. Some things are there, some incidences are there. Only we can collect the data through the non-participative observation. Some are there directly we can participate. Again, it depends on the allowance means permission of the respondents and all, or the situation, problems oriented towards the situation and all. So that is निरीक्षण, but that we call as a निरीक्षण. म्हणजे निरीक्षण हे एक उत्तम टूल आहे ज्याद्वारे आपण फॅक्च्युअल सत्यता, that we call as a validity, authenticity, and that we call as that means सत्यता ज्याला म्हणतो ते त्याच्यामध्ये आपल्याला टेस्ट केलं जातं. ऑब्झर्वेशन, निरीक्षण, डोळा हे उत्तम माध्यम आहे. Eye is the best media. Through that we can collect the certain the factual information, and then directly we can believe असं हे आपल्याला तिथे दिसलं, असं हे आपल्याला लक्षात येतं, त्याला आपण निरीक्षण म्हणतो. Experimental, generally science related technological subjects are on the best of the experimental. We require the lab and all, and just we go for the testing, for the conclusion, then graphs and charts, and then statistics and other things. So that quite experimental. Some social sciences like psychology, philosophy, etc., they require the experimental. Like there are so many tests, and that sometimes we try to connect it with the help of the experimental basis. In our sociology, there is one method that we call as a sociometry. Moreno was a renowned sociologist who had identified the sociometry method. like there is a trigonometry in mathematics, like that how we can calculate the distance between two angles and all that we call as a trigonometry. Like that there is a sociometry. Even in social sciences, as per the special like psychology, philosophy, politics, and etc., there is a method to calculate the distance or the attraction, or generally we can say the relationship among the people, as that sociometry means our relations with our primary relationship holder, secondary and tertiary. Accordingly, there is attachment, there are the feelings, or there are the relationships which can be calculated through the sociometry. So like that, there are different techniques. Maybe it is somehow related to the experimental things. Then important points in the research, which we should not forget to decorate our research in smart way. Ultimately, this is the roadmap, or this is particular right way to go towards our research. That is a master chart, which is the very essential factor, which is essential component in your research. We have to prepare it accordingly. We have to learn it because there are so many YouTubes are available on internet, how to prepare the master chart, how to incorporate our data over there, how it can be segregated, how can give the points, how the statistical finally draw and all. So that master chart we have to learn to prepare, and accordingly we have to put our data over there. Segregation of the data, classified, just earlier we have seen segregation, separation, classification of the data accordingly, our parameters, our component which we kept in as a part of collection of the data and all. So segregation of data is required over there. Preparation of tables. Now tables, suppose like in our social sciences there is a questionnaire. Generally we prepare questionnaire that we call as a प्रश्नावली. आपण जेव्हा प्रश्नावली बनवतो त्या ठिकाणी आपण असे काही प्रश्न टाकतो, like 50, 60, 70, 80 as per the length of or generally as per the overview of our research. आणि त्या प्रश्नामध्ये आपण कसं तेवढं टाकलं पाहिजे याला जेव्हा पकडून आपण ते हे बनवतो, क्वेश्चनर बनवतो, तेव्हाच ते आपले छोटे छोटे टेबल्स त्याच्यामध्ये बनतात. आता जसं आपण पाहिलंय, एखादं एक उदाहरण घेतलं, स्लम एरिया means the preparation originally the sociological analysis of the slum area in the Nagpur region. This is our title, and under it we need to get some information from the respondents or from the slum dwellers. याच्याकडे आपल्याला माहिती घ्यायची आहे. तर त्या आपल्या 50 क्वेश्चन मध्ये त्यांची पूर्ण माहिती आपल्याला येतं का, नसेल येत तर मग पुन्हा 10 वाढवायचे, लाईक दॅट. मग तुमची फॅमिलियर स्टेटस काय, तुमची इकॉनॉमिकल सोर्सेस काय, मग तिथे घटस्फोटाचा प्रॉब्लेम झालाय काय, किंवा मग तिथे गुंड मवालीज दादाच अवेलेबल आहेत काय, किंवा त्यांचं तुम्हाला काय टॉर्चर करतात काय, मग तिथे काही करप्शन आहे काय, मग अनक्लीननेस आहे काय, हे सगळे कंटेंट, सगळे प्रश्न आपण त्या क्वेश्चनर मध्ये टाकण्याचा प्रयत्न करतो, आणि जस्ट वी गो अकॉर्डिंगली दॅट वी, अँड ऑन दॅट बेस्ट वी प्रिपेअर अवर टेबल्स. मग त्याला आपण टेबल फॉर्म मध्ये करतो, आणि टेबल एकदा तयार झाले मग त्याचं स्टॅटिस्टिकल अनालिसिस आणि फायनली इंटरप्रिटेशन, आणि नंतर मग छोटंसं एक लाईन मध्ये आपण त्याचं कन्क्लुजन काढतो की ह्या सर्व विस्तारावरनं, ह्या सर्व विश्लेषणावरून असं लक्षात येतं की गुंड मावालींचा प्रभाव त्या झोपडपट्टीमध्ये आहे, आणि असं निदर्शनात येतं. आणि तेच कन्क्लुजन आपण नंतर मग शेवटी जेव्हा टाकतो त्याला मग असं खूप जास्त कन्क्लुजन काढलं तर त्याला एकत्र करून त्याचं एक मिनिमम 10 to 15 कन्क्लुजन मध्ये रिकमेंडेशन अँड सजेशन मध्ये टाकलं ते बरं होतं. म्हणजे इथून आपली ती सुरुवात होतं. त्यानंतरचं एक अत्यंत महत्वाचं आहे ऑब्जेक्टिव्हिटी, ऑथेंटिसिटी अँड व्हॅलिडिटी. सी, आता ऑब्जेक्टिव्हिटी मध्ये काय असतं, युअर रिअलनेस, युअर फॅक्च्युअल वर्क, युअर कॅलिबरनेस, युअर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. Sometimes we can notice I have been checked many theses of the researcher, and generally we try to check the objectivity. Is it real work or fake work? Immediately we can recognize it. त्याच्यामध्ये ऑब्जेक्टिव्हिटी आहे का, खरंच हा गेलेला आहे का फील्डवर, आणि ते कलेक्ट केलेलं आहे का, याला त्याचं जाणीव आहे का, याचं तेवढं काम कणखरपणे केलेलं आहे का. That objectivity tested by the experts or evaluator when we go for that. Recently मी एक thesis check केलं. In that thesis I seems that means there was a lacking of the objectivity. Actually, when I asked, that was related to the Banjara community of the particular region and all. When I asked to that fellow, tell me any 10 problems of the Banjara community, he failed to tell it. In that way, it seems that there is a lacking of the objectivity, which need to incorporate it, which need to maintain in our thesis. Objectivity, which is required. Authenticity, kharapana, authenticity, it would be tested. When we write thesis, honestly we have to express that it's correct. I have gone through this and I know the conclusion. That confidently we need to express, that we call as authenticity and validity. Validity means valid. It would be valid. चोपटपट्ट्यामध्ये प्रॉब्लेम्स आहे, इट्स व्हॅलिड अँड वी हॅव टू प्रूव्ह इट, देन वी कॅन से इट्स व्हॅलिडिटी. सो that we need to draw or maintain the certain things in our thesis, that we call as a validity. Now last one, there is a hypothesis testing. Hypothesis. As earlier we discussed, what is in the hypothesis? It's imagination towards our research. Minimum 4 to 5 hypotheses we have to keep over there, and there should be the 2 variables. म्हणजे असं केल्याने असं होतं. If you do it like this, so result will be like this. है ना? जर रस्त्यांवर गर्दी जास्त झाली तर अपघात होण्याची शक्यता जास्त असतं. 2 व्हेरिएबल आहे, गर्दी आणि अपघात. There are 2 variables, and under it we need to frame our research that we call as a, and how it can be tested. Finally you have to prove it because you have given the hypothesis. मग का गर्दी झाली आणि अपघात कसे होतात, आणि these are the statistics that we have to try to merge it accordingly, and then that we call as a testing of the hypothesis testing. Understand? Smart tips for research. Whenever you go for any research, we need to do these certain things, and accordingly we can have our research in appropriate way. I have seen many research scholars, when they register for the PhD or they go for the research, that time they have so many loopholes and lacunas in their research process, which need to eradicate or eliminate. I humbly suggest you, keep it continue, fully focus on your research, and complete it as early as possible. If you keep it prolonged manner, so it will be cause for the distraction. After stipulated time, you cannot concentrate on it accordingly. So that is why we have to try to finish your PhD as early as possible in stipulated time. There is no problem with the extension and all. Anyhow, we need to complete it because we have other responsibility. Like, suppose we are working somewhere else, workload from the other place, maybe our family responsibility, our economical imbalance, and etc. So in that way, we have to complete it in stipulated time. In that way, we can maintain our road map accordingly. So selection of reliable and suitable topic or title, if you select it accordingly, so generally this is the first step towards your success or completion of the research. Okay, collection and availability of books and related resources. Generally, I would like to suggest to the budding researchers that first of all, they have to collect the books. They have to go to market. They have to go for internet resources. They have to download the books. They have to approach to the organizations. There are some professional bodies also. Once you get their registration, or libraries are there. Once we have a membership of their certain professional organizations, so they can provide the literature, books, and certain resources to us as per our specialization. Generally, south side, there are so many things are available. Through that, we can get that things. Again, for preparation or for the suitable topic and all, sometimes we don't have the idea about any topic because we are new in this field. So generally, we have to go to the sites of NIT, IITs, or generally JNU, Pune University, or any most of the universities. They have uploaded their titles, their synopsis, and their thesis on their sites. So it's open to all. We can go, we can search, and in that manner, generally we get idea. आपल्याला idea येते थोडी. आपल्याला थोडी idea येते त्याबद्दल की आपला टॉपिक कसा असावा, त्याला कसं फ्रेम केलं जाईल, त्याला कसं एक्सप्रेस करता येईल, त्याला कसं बांधलं जाईल, हे सगळी आयडिया आपल्याला टेंटेटिव्हली त्याच्यामध्ये. इव्हन दे हॅव अपलोडेड देअर thesis. असे जुने thesis पण त्यांनी टाकलेले आहे. म्हणजे जेव्हा जे आपल्याला कन्फ्युजन असतं सुरुवातीला, कसं करू, काय करू, चॅप्टर्स किती ठेवू, डेटा किती लिहू, पेजेस किती होतील, किती स्पेसिंग पाहिजे, सगळं डिटेल गाईडलाईन्स आपण, इफ यू सी द ओल्ड thesis, तर आपण ते जुने thesis बघितले तर हाफ ऑफ द सक्सेस वी गेट इन आर रिसर्च. एक मॉडेल म्हणून आपल्याला अभ्यासता येतं. इव्हन आपल्या नागपूर विद्यापीठामध्ये पण ते खूप सारे thesis ठेवलेले आहे. आपण जर जाऊन आपल्या विषयानुसार जर बघितले तर आपल्याला खूप सारी आयडियाज येतं आणि त्यानुसार आपण आपला रिसर्च तयार करू शकतो. म्हणजे इव्हन मग वी कॅन सेव्ह द एफर्ट्स ऑफ अवर गाईड, वी कॅन सेव्ह अवर एफर्ट्स, अँड देन अवर ओन इमॅजिनेशन, वी कॅन गो अहेड विथ अवर रिसर्च. एक चांगल्या पद्धतीचे जे स्मार्ट वर्क केलं जातं. अजून असं लक्षात येतं की nowadays, there are so many researchers. They are fresh. Just recently they have completed their MA. They are registered. They are preparing for NET and SET examination. Some are there. Many students, they come to us in that way. Identification on their structure. Generally, I would like to suggest to them that if they are preparing for the competitive examination, they have to select such a topic will be useful to their competitive orientation work. जे फ्रेश आहेत, जे यंग आहेत, किंवा जे बडिंग रिसर्चर आहेत, त्यांनी जर असं स्मार्टली जर केलं, म्हणजे एकीकडे कॉम्पिटेटिव्ह एक्झामिनेशन, एकीकडे त्यांचं जॉब ओरिएंटेशन, एकीकडे त्यांचं रिसर्च, PhD अँड ऑल, असं एक ते स्मार्टली त्यांनी जर असं हे केलं तर त्यांना एक चांगलं बेनिफिट, चांगली युटिलिटी आणि चांगल्या प्रकारचे रिसर्च ते करू शकतात. म्हणजे इकडे जॉब ओरिएंटेड पण असतं, कॅरियर अपॉर्च्युनिटीज पण असतं, एकीकडे रिसर्च डेव्हलपमेंट पण असतं, रिसर्च पेपर पण तयार होतात, आणि नंतर जॉब ओरिएंटेशन पण त्यांना जाता येतं. तर एकंदरीत स्मार्ट वेनी जर त्यांनी हे केलं तर एक त्यांना चांगला बेनिफिट मिळू शकतो. सो जस्ट इफ इट इज इन युअर कॅपॅसिटी, यू कॅन गो. दॅट इज अप टू यू, मीन्स युअर सिच्युएशन अँड ऑल. study of previous research work and seeking guidance from the experts. Now, the seeking guidance from experts. Already we can see the previous research work which is related to our research, existing research work. Also, you have to take a guidance or the knowledge from the experts. Generally, what do we do when we start the research? We consult our supervisor. Sometimes our supervisor can suggest to meet to certain experts, and generally we can take the reviews or we can make the experts and we get the knowledge from them. I noticed that when we meet to more experts, sometimes the guidelines given by them, it varies, depending on the specialization, orientation, and certain things. Which is suitable to you, only that much you can take. The rest of the things you can be omitted. You need not get a confusion. You can meet to them, you get the idea, whatever required to you, you can incorporate it in your research. But anyhow, that is your lookout, how you can be taken in your research. That smartly need to identify it. And while meeting to the other experts, you need to take permission from your guide. If he allows, then go, otherwise no need to go. Because anyhow, self-esteem of the supervisor comes there, and you have to give the respect to our supervisor. Obviously, it is good habit. In that way, we can develop the good attachment with our supervisor. Even in our research language that we call as our guide, our mentor, our supervisor, our PhD supervisor is your, even he is a very, very important fellow for us. That is why we have to have a good rapport with the supervisor and all. Okay, so that is the thing which is required for the smart work. Research paper writing in suitable journals. That is quite very essential and important. Just I would like to give some tips about it. Actually, when we start our research, that time we need to write minimum 2 to 3 research paper, and that research paper are useful when we submit our thesis to the PhD cell of this concerned university or any institution. Writing research paper is an art which need to develop from initial stage of the research. So again, like PhD, pursuing the PhD, there is a confusion. So same thing happened when we start the writing of the research paper. How to write, where I have to collect the data, how it can be segregated, what will my conclusion, how much pages will be required there, what font will be required for that, how many points will be there, what will be the parts of the journal, how many types of journal, what is index, and what is international journal, what is SCI journal, what is Web of Science journal, or what is UGC and UGC literature. There is a lot of confusion. Okay. So need not get confused. Just once you be familiar with the journals and certain things, then gradually or slowly you can get the knowledge about the certain things. Initially, I would like to suggest you, when you plunge into the research work, write your research paper according to your topic in the publishing in that research paper in the conference proceeding. Because with less efforts we can publish it in that conference proceeding. There are less viewers, or generally, it's a simple manner it can be published over there. And once you get a confidence and you have the suitable data with you, then you can go for publication in the reputed international journals. Again, there are different type of journals, and I will like to tell you SCI journals. In our IIT and NIT concept, in our research as per the guidelines, under me there are 3 candidates. So one candidate has submitted PhD and awarded PhD also. So submission of that certain things, we required minimum publication of minimum published 2 research paper in the SCI journal. SCI journal, which are reputed and most renowned journal where we have to publish our paper. And generally, that publishing our research paper in that journal is quite difficult. Means once you submit our research paper over there, after 6 months they give the reply that your paper has been accepted or rejected or whatever it is. And again, we have to wait for 6 months, and then if the reply is negative, again we have to come back. Again, we have to go for other journal and all. So that is SCI journal. Web of Science, again there is a paid journal, non-paid journal. Then Scopus journal, same situation, because these are 3 toughest journals which we saw. It takes a lot of efforts, quality of the work and all. And sometimes I have seen the students get frustrated when frequently their paper have been rejected by the editor of the certain journals. So if it is not requirement, if it is not mandatory, then we can go for simple international journals which are having the good impact factor or suitable index, and we can publish our paper over there. Gradually we can simultaneously improve the quality of our research paper. We can have the study on internet, or some journals are available with our colleagues and our supervisor. Through that, just we have the study and try to decorate our research paper accordingly. and then we can minimum 3 to 4 research paper we have to keep with us. Even that research paper are very useful for long time in our career if you are in the teaching field. Right? And continuously writing the research paper is an art. We have to inculcate it. We have to develop this habit, and it will be useful to us in a lifelong learning process. Then again, complete PhD research work as early as possible within the limit time. This is favorable to us to save our time, our energy, and we can concentrate on other things and all. So this is the humble request that you can wind up your research within the stipulated time. And that way, if you maintain your smart techniques in your research, so it can be carried out in appropriate way. Required statistical analysis process. Again, sometimes there is a confusion between the minds of supervisor as well as student. Which type of tool or which type of statistical process will be inculcated in the research to draw the conclusion for statistical analysis and all. Again, I would like to suggest you, if you are not comfortable in the SPSS method, if you are not comfortable in the Excel, if you are comfortable, no doubt, you can go accordingly. You need to learn it. But some are there, they are not comfortable. So just we can go for the simple statistical method, depending on the suggestion given by your supervisor, even your understanding capacity and all. And as per that, we can go ahead. But you are not comfortable in overall all certain matters, just go for the simple शेकडा मेथड. जसं आपण ते 100% वाली म्हणतो ना, की एवढं प्रमाणे एवढं प्रपोर्शन आणि एवढं कन्क्लुजन आणि एवढं सजेशन हे त्याच्यामध्ये निघतं. त्याला आपण सिंपल स्टॅटिस्टिक्स मेथड म्हणतो. तर असं केलं तरी चालेल. शेवटी कन्क्लुजन एकच असतं. ग्राफ्स आणि हे सर्टन मग थिंग्स त्याच्यावर आपल्याला बनवता येतात. Tools of data collection, questionnaire and interview. The different type of guidelines have been incorporated in various books. We need to write it. आता खूप सारे पुस्तके रिसर्च मेथडॉलॉजीवरती अवेलेबल आहेत की क्वेश्चनर कसं फ्रेम केलं पाहिजे, कसं डिझाईन केलं पाहिजे, कोणते क्वेश्चन कुठे टाकले पाहिजे, किती फॅक्टर्स त्या क्वेश्चनरचे केले पाहिजे वगैरे वगैरे, आणि वाइंड अप कसं केलं पाहिजे, विच प्रिकॉशन वी नीड टू टेक व्हाईल फिलिंग द क्वेश्चनर फ्रॉम द रिस्पॉन्डेंट्स अँड ऑल. हे सगळं जर जनरली हे जे क्वेश्चन I think something happened wrong. Anyway, questionnaire preparation ही एक शिकण्यासारखी गोष्ट असतं आणि we have to take it. नंतर आहे इंटरव्ह्यू. आता काही डेटा आपण क्वेश्चनरी जमा करतो, काही इंटरव्ह्यू घेऊन करीत असतो. आपण जेव्हा फील्डवर जातो आणि आपला इंटरव्ह्यू त्या रिस्पॉन्डंटची घेत असतो, समजा एखादा ऑफिसर आहे, एखादा तहसीलदार आहे किंवा कलेक्टर आहे किंवा कुणी आहे, असं जेव्हा आपण, किंवा ते शेतकरी आहे, ॲज पर दी रिस्पॉन्डंट लेवल वी हॅव टू डेकोरेट अवर इंटरव्ह्यू पॅटर्न. आता इंटरव्ह्यू कशी घेतली पाहिजे, कशी दिली पाहिजे, कोणते प्रश्न त्याच्यामध्ये समावेश केलं पाहिजे, हे सगळं गाईडलाईन्स त्या पुस्तकांमध्ये दिलेलं असतं. वी नीड टू राईट इट अँड देन अकॉर्डिंगली वी हॅव टू डेकोरेट अवर इंटरव्ह्यू पॅटर्न. काय प्रोटोकॉल फॉलो केलं पाहिजे, विच टाईप ऑफ हॅबिट्स वी हॅव टू बी इनकल्केट व्हाईल प्रेझेंट अवर सेल्फ अँड टेकिंग द इंटरव्ह्यू फ्रॉम अदर थिंग्स. तर हे सगळं मॅटर त्याच्यामध्ये येतं. तर क्वेश्चनर इंटरव्ह्यूज, दीज आर द बोथ थिंग्स थ्रू दॅट वी कॅन कलेक्ट द डेटा. नंतर आहे आयडियल सॅम्पल साईज अँड अप्रोप्रिएट रिसर्च एरिया. आता बघा, याच्यामध्ये कधी कधी गडबड अशी होते की आपण सॅम्पल साईज खूप मोठा घेतो आणि देन वी जस्ट ट्राय टू रोम, म्हणजे आपण ते नेहमी फिरत असतो या एरियात त्या एरियात. इट वेस्टेज ऑफ मनी, टाइम अँड एनर्जी. सो in spite of that things, just we have to maintain it, cut down it in appropriate way, which will be under our capacity. जेवढं आपल्या आवाक्यामध्ये असतं तेवढंच घ्यायचं. जास्त जर घेतलं तर ते रिसर्च बरोबर होत नाही किंवा एनर्जी लागतं किंवा खूप वेळ त्याच्यामध्ये जातं. त्याच्यामुळे आयडियल सॅम्पल साईज इज सिलेक्शन ऑफ द आयडियल सॅम्पल साईज इज द फर्स्ट स्टेप टू कलेक्शन ऑफ युअर डेटा. Appropriate research area and convenient research area is also very essential to complete your research in suitable ways. Then social relevance and problem solving research. Ultimately आपण रिसर्च कशासाठी करतो हे खूप महत्वाचा भाग असतो. म्हणजे व्हॉट इज द एम ऑफ रिसर्च. म्हणजे आपण रिसर्च करतो, पीएचडी, वी गेट पीएचडी, दॅट इज डिफरंट पार्ट, मीन्स दॅट इज अवर अकॅडमिक कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन और अकॅडमिक अचिव्हमेंट विच वी से. What ultimately, just I would like to suggest to you, means when we start or do our any research, when we pursue our any research, that we have to keep in our mind that how my research will be useful to the community, how my research will be useful to the society, how my research will be useful to my country. That 3 points need to contain in our mind. How my research will have the social relevance and how my research, some of the problems can be sorted out with my research. Otherwise, कर रहे PhD मिल गई, that increment मिल गया, that for that seeking, if you do the PhD, you can finish it. But I think, as per my suggestion, as per my assumption, there should be the social relevance and some of the problems we can be eradicate, some of the suggestion we need to give to overcome our existing problems, and somehow somewhere we can help to our society, our community, or our nation to identify these certain problems, or it will be kahin na kahin ye kaam mein aayega if that perception is in our mind, so it will be useful towards the society and our community. Finally, when we go to end of our research, effective and concrete suggestions and recommendation. See, that is very important. Your suggestion, your recommendation, and your plan should be concrete, effectful, and reliable. हे जसं आपण म्हणतो की हे तुमचं सजेशन आणि रिकमेंडेशन हे दमदार असायला पाहिजे, जेणेकरून दी अदर एजन्सीज कॅन टेक द कॉग्निजन्स. म्हणजे जे आपल्याला कुठे सबमिट करायचंय किंवा असं काही करायचंय, किंवा वेन द इव्हॅल्युएटर कम, वेन दे गो फॉर दॅट इव्हॅल्युएशन, त्यांना असं वाटलं पाहिजे की खरंच हे दमदार आहे, हे रिलायबल आहे, इफेक्टिव्ह आहे, सजेशन इम्प्लिमेंट करता येईल. समजा एखादी प्रॉब्लेम घेतली आपण आणि ते सजेशन दमदार दिले, चांगले दिले, तर वी कॅन सबमिट टू द कलेक्टर ऑफिस, वी कॅन सबमिट टू द ZP ऑफिस टू गेट दी सर्टन थिंग्स अँड ऑल. तर सजेशन आणि रिकमेंडेशन दमदार असणं महत्वाचं असतं. त्यानंतर आहे इन्क्लुजन ऑफ अप्रोप्रिएट चार्ट अँड ग्राफ्स. इन्क्लुजन तर काय असतं, आपण आपला थेसिस डेकोरेट करायचं असतं, इम्प्रेसिव्ह करायचं असतं, अट्रॅक्टिव्ह करायचं असतं, इन्फॉर्मेटिव्ह करायचं असतं. त्यासाठी अप्रोप्रिएट चार्ट्स आणि ग्राफ्स आपल्याला टाकावं लागतं. आता हे चार्ट्स आणि ग्राफ्स कसं असावं, हे स्टॅटिस्टिकल अनालिसिस जेव्हा शिकवलं जातं, किंवा खूप साऱ्या पुस्तकांमध्ये, नेटवर पण अवेलेबल आहे, युट्यूब अवेलेबल आहे, चार्ट्स कसे बनवायचे, कोणत्या प्रकारचे बनवायचे, कोणता डेटा कुठे सेग्रिगेट करून त्याला असं फ्रेम करता येईल, त्याचं इलस्ट्रेशन आपल्या टेबलशी कसं फ्रेम होईल, हे सगळं जे मेथडॉलॉजी आहे स्टॅटिस्टिकल अनालिसिस, ज्याला आपण काय म्हणतो क्वालिटेटिव्ह आणि क्वांटिटेटिव्ह रिसर्च, याच्यामध्ये जे केलं जातं हे त्याच्याशी फ्रेम असतं. म्हणजे टेबल काढलं की त्याच्या बाजूला पहिल्या पेजवर चार्ट काढलं जातं, ग्राफ्स काढलं जातं, आणि त्यानुसार मग आपलं ते त्याला आपण जिओग्राफिकल ओरिएंटेशन म्हणतो, आणि स्टॅटिस्टिकल अनालिसिस त्याच्यामध्ये एक्झिबिट केलं जातं. That means that inclusion of the appropriate chart and graph should be required, and it would be fixed in appropriate way. आता कधी कधी आपण नुसते एकाच प्रकारचे ग्राफ काढतो, तर दॅट युनिफॉर्मिटी इज ओनली समटाइम्स मेंटेन. म्हणजे त्याला जर अजून थोडं डिफरंट करता येईल, तर वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारचे आपल्याला चार्ट आणि ग्राफ त्याच्यामध्ये टाकता येईल. इन दॅट वे वी कॅन मेंटेन हेट्रोजिनियस स्ट्रक्चर इन अवर थेसिस, आणि इट बिकम्स मोर अट्रॅक्टिव्ह अँड इन्फॉर्मेटिव्ह. तर हे जर तुम्ही शिकले, किंवा जे असतात एक्सपर्ट्स, किंवा पुस्तके जरी वाचले, किंवा वेन वी अटेंड द वर्कशॉप लाईक दिस वर्कशॉप, सो वी कॅन गेट, म्हणजे बऱ्यापैकी आपल्याला आयडिया येतं, आणि त्यानुसार मग आपण करण्याचा प्रयत्न करतो. बी अवेअर ऑफ प्लगॅरिझम अँड कॉपीराईट. आता प्लगॅरिझम दॅट इज क्वाईट डिफरंट थिंग. आता सुदैवानं दुर्दैवानं काय झालंय, आज आपण पुस्तक वाचत नाही, जस्ट वी गो टू द इंटरनेट अँड वी डाउनलोड द सर्टन डेटा, जस्ट वी सेग्रिगेट इट अँड ट्राय टू इंटरप्रेट इन अवर रिसर्च. सगळं रेडीमेड वगैरे सगळं अवेलेबल आहे, बट समटाइम्स बिफोर सबमिटिंग अवर thesis we need to check our algorithm and we have to submit the report along with it. तर मग हे सगळं काम केल्यावर जेव्हा आपलं अल्गोरिदम सापडतं, इट शुड बी लेस दॅन 10%, जेवढं कमी तेवढं चांगलं. आणि जर समजा तुमचं रिअल वर्क असेल, युअर ओरिजिनल वर्क असेल, तर त्यावेळेस तुमचं अल्गोरिदम कमी असतं, आणि कॉपीराईट अँड सर्टन थिंग्स वी कॅन बी अवॉइडेड इट. तर आय वुड लाईक टू सजेस्ट यू, while collecting the data, while decorating your thesis or your research work, you can refer other books, you can give the references from other sources which are available on internet. You can segregate it, you can appropriately modify it, but give your main action towards it. म्हणजे तुमची इमॅजिनेशन, तुमचं वर्क, तुमचे स्टेटमेंट, तुमचं ओन ओरिजिनल डेटा, यू हॅव टू बी ट्राय टू इनपुट ओव्हर देअर. म्हणजे हे तुमची जेव्हा जे स्किल, तुमचे सेंटेन्सेस, आयडिया वी कॅन टेक इट, समटाइम्स यू कॅन टेक द आयडिया, इवन वी कॅन गिव्ह द रेफरन्सेस फॉर दॅट आयडियाज अँड ऑल. पण आपल्या भाषेमध्ये, आपल्या कृतीमध्ये जेव्हा आपण ते लिहितो, तेव्हा त्याचं जे हे असतं, त्याला आपण काय म्हणतो, त्याचं जे प्लगॅरिझम रेट असतं ते अगदी कमी असतं, आणि मग इट इज नॉट क्वेश्चन ऑफ ऑब्जेक्शन अँड एनिथिंग एल्स. अँड दॅट प्रॅक्टिस इज विथ us quite lifelong, and nowadays, due to some certain sort of softwares and all, immediately it can be caught. ते असं पटकन पकडलं जातं, आणि त्याच्यामुळे मग इट कुड बी प्रॉब्लेमॅटिक समटाइम्स टू अस. सो दॅट इज वाय जस्ट ट्राय टू अवॉइड इट. वी शुड नॉट प्लंग इन टू दी सर्टन मॅटर. ठीक आहे. नंतर आहे लेस कन्फ्युजन, प्रोक्रॅस्टिनेशन अँड डिलेइंग इन द रिसर्च प्रोसेस. आता जेव्हा आपल्याकडे रिसर्च स्कॉलर येतात, बिंग अ सुपरवायझर और गाईड, तेव्हा असं ते कन्फ्युज झालेले असतात, कसं करू, काय करू, कोणतं टॉपिक घेऊ, कुठे पुस्तक आणू, कुठे भेट देऊ, कुठे काय करू, वगैरे वगैरे. तर असं काहीच करायची गरज नाही. जस्ट बी सायलेंट, कूल, रिलॅक्स, go to the sites of the various IITs, NITs, universities, try to download the certain required material related to a topic and avoid the confusion. Consult your supervisor only, not to others. असेही काही बहादर बघितले की खूप लोकांकडे फिरतात आणि मग टायटल सिलेक्शन पासून कन्फ्युजन होतं. डोंट डू दिस. Your supervisor, your guide is ultimate source for you. You have to listen to him or her. Okay, to avoid the less confusion. Procrastination, that is very bad habit in the research work. To avoid or to delay the works functionally, that we call as a procrastination. Don't do this. Try to do it within the time. Whatever the problem would be rise, try to overcome it and go accordingly. That we call as a procrastination. Okay, and then delaying in the research work process, so avoid it. Then managing and handling of collected data and resources. Managing and handling of collected data and resources. Now, what happened actually, sometimes you read more books, you refer the more sites which are available on internet, and it takes a lot of time, whatever the duration allotted by our PhD cell, and accordingly we go for that. So sometimes when we download it, we have to mobilize the certain files in particular folder, and we need to give the sequence wise 1 2 3 4 accordingly, and the title of to that particular file and folder. In that way, confusion would be avoided, because we are the VNT, means in our VNT, we require, because there is a program of the fellowship, we give the 35,000 rupees to the research scholar, and full time they have to come to the department and they have to do they have to carry out their research work. So in that way, there is a requirement to provide the quality research paper and quality research work, and for that purpose they have to go rigorously for the knowledge required towards or pertaining towards their topic. So in that case, plenty of files, plenty of folders would been created, and that need to manage it smartly with the numbering or with the particular identification. If there is a confusion, then it's very deep, because we have to give the references by writing the research paper and all. So in that case, to avoid the confusion, to save the time and all, energy, fatigue and psychological distress and all, etc., there is a requirement to handle the collected data and resources accordingly. Okay, then preference to attending the conferences organized by IIT, NIDs or other reputed organizations. Through that we can get a knowledge. We have the interaction with other our colleagues or other our experts who are in our field. We try to write our research paper, and initially we can present over there, and we can boost our confidence, and that is a good practice towards completion our research, and in that way we can finish it within the time. Okay, so generally certain things we need to do it. Nowadays in this online mode era, plenty of workshops are organizing somewhere else, and through that we can get a knowledge. Maybe it is statistical, qualitative, quantitative manner and all. And ultimately, this is the big source, big opportunities for us. We can get expertise, and we can be capable over there, and accordingly we can carry out our research. So that habit we need to do it. So thank you. Just one topic I would like to discuss with you, which is the part of our research work. How to write a research paper. How to write a research paper. While writing the research paper, as usual, like we select the title for our research work, same thing is applicable for writing the research paper. We have to identify the suitable research title for our research paper. Suppose your research paper is depending on our PhD research work, so it will be easy for us, and accordingly we can go for that. So suitable research paper we need to adjust over there. Suppose we are pursuing the PhD, that is it's okay, then we have to write our name with our supervisor name, our designation, our contact name, that is our email ID and all that need to, because either research paper we have seen sometimes, so that would be there. After that, once you selected the title for you, then we need to write the abstract. Now abstract is the mirror of your research paper. Abstract is the mirror of research paper, means that we call it is a summary, or it is a particular it is a particular that paragraph which try to cover your overall thing of your research paper over there. Okay, so minimum half of the page of A4 size we need to write as a abstract with 7 to 8 keywords. Keywords means the major words which try to reframe or research accordingly. And frequently these words comes in our research. So in that abstract, we need to write initial introduction, 2 to 3 objectives, not in 1 to 3 in that manner, very simple manner. And your passion, your theme or your suggestion, what you want to give through your research. Is it total mirror or some sort of things through that abstract you can be you can present over there. Like when we submit our paper or some of the reputed journal, whether it is international or whatever it is, having the good impact factor. So generally editor or the board of the editor would go accordingly, and they have to identify it. And if it is rich or generally it is up to the mark, then it would be accepted for the further process. I'm talking about SCI and other reputed journals, or otherwise they will send it for revise and all, because it's mirror. Once you completed your abstract, everything you have to collect over there. And generally abstract would be written after the research paper. Okay, means we have to summarize, and we have to, because sometimes the editors go only your abstract and they assume that research paper is fit to their journal, and accordingly they go ahead. Okay, that is one thing. Once you finish your abstract, then you need to go to the introduction of your research paper. Generally, depending on the structure, intensity and gravity of your research paper, minimum 1 page is required. Minimum half page also it would be considered, but generally 1 page is better for that. Introduction, minimum 1 page introduction is required for that. So insert the certain things which are required to decorate your research paper over there. Introduction, there are some, we need to give some references. In that way, the concreteness, validity, authenticity would be reflected through that conclusion. So previous research work also we can be put over there, and we can decorate accordingly. Then objectives. After conclusion, there are the objectives. Minimum 4 to 5 objectives need to insert it in your research paper. Objectives means how your work would be carried out, what are the objectives, and what you want to tell through this research paper to the other people who are connected to your research field. That we call as objectives. Minimum 4 to 5 objectives. Then after that, there is a relevant areas. Relevant areas means you are thirsting on particular area. That definery terms will be incorporated in that particular your first area or your main area or your that working area. That will be the part of your that we call as a first area. After that, if is there any requirement of the statistical analysis? Again, it depending on the structure of your paper, your statistical analysis. If it is there, then appropriately you try to manage your statistical, qualitative and quantitative work in that particular statistical matter. Because there is a limitation in the research paper. There is a limitation of the pages in the research paper. Some words and all, they give certain parameters, and under it we need to write it. Okay, so that we called as a that first area, statistical analysis. And finally suggestions, recommendation that we need to give as usual we give in our research paper, in our PhD thesis and all. And finally, draw the conclusion. Conclusion means that you have to give your suggestions, your opinion, and it should be always optimistic way. आशावादी असायला पाहिजे की through your research you are going to sort out some of the problems which are existing in our society, and through that we can make the life better. So that we called as a conclusion. And finally, we need to give the references. There are different techniques, different methods, different rules which are framed by the particular editorial board of the different journals, and accordingly we have to put it. Okay, so 3 to 4 things we need to incorporate it in our research: authenticity, validity, our real works, our appropriate conclusion, reliable objectives, and suitable statistical method with some of the graphs, etc. And finally, wind up your research paper with the appropriate positivist suggestions that is required. So in that way, you can write down your research paper. So minimum 4 to 5 research paper can be prepared to complete your research, PhD research work. Okay, so this is for my side. Yeah, so it will be a pleasure for me if you ask some questions.
उपस्थित संशोधक विद्यार्थी आणि संशोधन मार्गदर्शक यांना काही प्रश्न विचारायचे असतील तर आपण सादर आमंत्रित आहात.
असं खूप सारे डेटा अवेलेबल असतं इंटरनेटवरती. त्याला आपल्याला घेता येतं, त्याला सेग्रिगेट करता येतं, त्याला चांगल्या याच्यामध्ये बाइंड अप करता येतं. आणि काय असतं, आपण जेव्हा पीएचडी करतो किंवा एखादा रिसर्च पेपर लिहितो, तर त्याचं जे डेटा असतं ते आपल्याकडे आपण काढून ठेवलं तर ते कधीही कामात येतं. ते रेडीमेड असल्यासारखंच असतं आणि वी कॅन इन्कॉर्पोरेट दॅट थिंग्स इन युअर रिसर्च पेपर. तर असं कसं आहे, एक पुस्तक जर वाचलं तर वारंवार ते पुस्तक वाचणं परवडत नाही. तर अशा वेळेस त्याच्यातले काही पॉइंट्स आपण काढून ठेवलेत. काही पॉइंट्स, काही डायलॉग, काही स्टॅटिस्टिकल अनालिसिस किंवा जसं करंट मॅगझिन्स असतात, क्रॉनिकल आहे, प्रतियोगिता दर्पण आहे, अशा ज्या मंथली मॅगझिन्स असतात आणि आपल्या विषयावर त्याच्यामध्ये खूप सारे स्टॅटिस्टिक्स असतात किंवा काही मॅगझिन्स त्या कॉम्पिटेटिव्ह एरियामध्ये कॉम्पिटेटिव्ह एरियामध्ये कामामध्ये असतात किंवा युजफुल डेटा त्याच्यामध्ये असतं. असं जर डेटा आपण आपल्याकडे काढून ठेवलं तर आपल्या रिसर्च पेपरमध्ये ते आपल्याला युज करता येतं आणि ते रेडीमेड आपल्याकडे अवेलेबल असतो. त्याच्यामुळे आपलं वेळही वाचतं आणि जे एक्झॅशन असतं किंवा जे जे ज्याला आपण हे म्हणतो सर्टन थिंग्स वी रिक्वायर्ड दॅट वी कॅन इन्कॉर्पोरेट इन द सर्टन थिंग्स. आणि ज्या काही कसं कधी कधी ऑफलाईन बुक्स आर अवेलेबल, ऑनलाईन बुक्स आर अवेलेबल. तर अशा वेळेस आपण त्या बुक्स जर डाउनलोड केल्या आहेत किंवा आपण हार्ड कॉपी जरी वाचल्या आणि त्याच्यात जे काही पॉईंट्स आहेत, ज्या काही इम्पॉर्टंट थिंग्स आहेत, ज्या काही रिक्वायर्ड गोष्टी आहेत, त्या सुद्धा आपण आपल्याकडे काढल्या तर ऍज अ पार्ट ऑफ रेफरन्सेस ते आपल्याकडे तयार असतं. आणि ते सेंटेन्स आणि ते रेफरन्सेस आता बघा, काही याच्यामध्ये खूप रेफरन्सेस द्यावे लागतात. आपण एखादं स्टेटमेंट केलं तर ते कुठून घेतलं, काय घेतलं, तर असं जर दाखवायचं असेल तर आपल्याला रेफरन्स द्यावे लागतात. एक मी थेसिस मध्यंतरी चेक केलं, त्याच्यामध्ये जस्ट ओनली हार्डली 15 to 20 रेफरन्सेस वेअर देअर. तर हे असं जे थेसिस असतं ते इट लायबल टू गेट रिजेक्शन, बट जनरली रिजेक्ट करत नाही तो नंतरचा भाग, बट जनरली इट इज नॉट अ गुड क्वालिटी रिसर्च वर्क. तर अशा वेळेस तुम्ही जेवढे जास्त रेफरन्सेस दिले, जेवढे जास्त तुमचं कॉन्क्रीटनेस टाकलं तर, आणि हे रेफरन्सेस जमा करणं साधं काम नसतं. रेफरन्सेस जमा करायला खूप सारे पुस्तके वाचावं लागतात, ज्या साईट्स आहेत त्या डाउनलोड करावं लागतात, प्रोफेशनल बॉडीची मेंबरशिप घ्यावं लागतं, अभ्यास करावा लागतो, त्याला सेग्रिगेट करावं लागतं आणि ते कुठल्या ठिकाणी कुठलं फिट करायचं यानुसार ते मग ते आपल्याला लावावं लागतं. त्याच्यामुळे ही जर तुमची एनर्जी, तुमची मेहनत सेव्ह करायची असेल, वाचवायची असेल, तर तुम्हाला ज्या काही आपण क्रमिक पुस्तकं वाचतो, ज्या काही रेफरन्सेस आणि ज्या काही पुस्तके वाचतो त्याचे जे डेव्हलप आपल्या विषयाचे असतात, ज्या काही गोष्टी असतात त्या जर आपण आपल्याकडे डाउनलोड करून ठेवलं तर त्याला बऱ्यापैकी आपल्याला सेग्रिगेट करता येतं, एकत्र बांधता येतं आणि आपला वेळ पण वाचतो आणि ते स्मार्ट वर्क असतं. पुन्हा दुसरं एक मला असं सांगावंसं वाटतं, काही लोक मी बघितले की ते स्वतः टाईप करत बसतात. तर जर इफ यू आर कम्फर्टेबल इन द टायपिंग अँड ऑल मराठी एक्सेट्रा, यू कॅन डू अकॉर्डिंगली. अदरवाईज नो नीड टू डू इट. असं काही करायची गरज नसतं. यू कॅन गिव्ह टू द प्रोफेशनल टायपिस्ट. इन दॅट वे अगेन यू कॅन सेव्ह युअर एनर्जी अँड टाइम. नाहीतर मग आपण टाईप करत बसतो आणि त्याच्यामध्ये ते काही बरोबर होत नाही. तर बेटर दॅट डू द स्मार्ट वे. हे दर महिन्यात काहीतरी 6 महिन्यात आपल्याला एकदा हे सबमिशन करावं लागतं. जसं आमच्या एनआयटी स्ट्रक्चरमध्ये आवर स्टुडंट शुड प्रेझेंट देअर रिसर्च वर्क इन 6 मंथली. 6 महिन्यामध्ये त्यांना प्रेझेंट करावं लागतं. तर त्याच्यामध्ये पण त्यांनी ते स्टिप्युलेटेड वर्क त्यांना करून ठेवलं लागतं. असं जर आपण करून ठेवलं तर ते मग त्या पर्टिक्युलर स्टेजमध्ये, त्या पर्टिक्युलर वेळेमध्ये तेवढं वर्क आपलं कम्प्लीट झालेलं असतं. आणि मग नाहीतर मग शेवटी खूप गडबड होतं आणि ते वर्क बरोबर होत नाही आणि मग सगळं हे होतं. त्याच्यामुळे जर इनिशियली स्टेज पासून आपण जर सुरुवात केली तर ते दॅट वी कॉल्ड एज अ स्मार्ट वर्क. परत असं एक महत्वाचं असतं की आपण सुरुवातीला आपले पुस्तके आपल्याकडे जमा करून ठेवणं आवश्यक असतं. लायब्ररीमध्ये शोधणं किंवा इकडे तिकडे, म्हणजे तुमचे जेवढे रेफरन्सेस किंवा तुमचे जेवढे पुस्तके तुमच्या जवळ असतील तेवढं तुमचं वर्क चांगल्या क्वालिटीचं होईल किंवा लवकर होईल. नाहीतर मग पुस्तके राहिले नाही तर ते तशी मजा वाटत नाही किंवा ते वर्क तसं होत नाही. ठीक आहे. अजून काही असेल क्वेश्चन तर प्लीज विचारा. अदरवाईज वी कॅन वाइंड अप.
धन्यवाद सर. आपण ऍडव्हान्स रिसर्च मेथोडॉलॉजी अँड रोडमॅप्स फॉर रिसर्च या विषयानुषंगाने अतिशय मार्मिक व सखोल असे मार्गदर्शन केले. संशोधनाच्या पद्धतीच्या विविधांगी पैलूंवर आपण प्रकाश टाकला. नक्कीच आपले विवेचन, आपण दिलेल्या सूचना संशोधक विद्यार्थ्यांना पीएचडीचे संशोधन करतेवेळी अतिशय उपयुक्त असे ठरणारेच आहे. पुनश्च एकदा धन्यवाद सर. श्री बिंझानी नगर महाविद्यालयातील उच्च शिक्षण व संशोधन केंद्र यांच्या वतीने आयोजित संशोधन पद्धती या विषयावरील कार्यशाळेतील दुसऱ्या दिवसाचे दुसरे सत्र आज संपन्न झाले. ज्यांच्या प्रेरणेने व सहकार्याने महाविद्यालयात विविध उपक्रम राबवले जातात असे आमच्या महाविद्यालयाचे प्राचार्य आदरणीय डॉक्टर सुजित मेत्रे सर यांना मी मनपूर्वक धन्यवाद देते. तसेच महाविद्यालयाचे उपप्राचार्य डॉक्टर संदीप तुंडुरवार सर यांना देखील मनपूर्वक धन्यवाद देते. आजच्या सत्राला लाभलेले मार्गदर्शक डॉक्टर गोपीचंद निंबर्ते सर यांनी अतिशय सुंदर असे मौलिक मार्गदर्शन केले. याबद्दल मी महाविद्यालयाच्या वतीने व उच्च शिक्षण व संशोधन केंद्राच्या वतीने सरांचे आभार मानते. आभासी कार्यशाळेच्या अतिशय सुंदर अशा आयोजनाबद्दल मी कार्यशाळेचे समन्वयक डॉक्टर अनिल शेंडे सर, डॉक्टर राजेंद्र नाईकवाडे सर यांना मनपूर्वक धन्यवाद देते. तसेच महाविद्यालयाच्या IQAC समन्वयक डॉक्टर प्रांजली काने मॅडम, सहसमन्वयक डॉक्टर नरेंद्र रक्ताटे सर यांची देखील मी आभारी आहे. आजच्या कार्यशाळेला उपस्थित संशोधक विद्यार्थी, संशोधक मार्गदर्शक, समस्त प्राध्यापक वृंद आणि उपस्थितांप्रती मी आभार व्यक्त करते आणि आजचे सत्र इथे संपन्न झाले असे जाहीर करते. सोबतच काही सूचना संशोधक विद्यार्थ्यांकरिता आहे. आजच्या दिवसाचे तिसरे सत्र म्हणजे संशोधक विद्यार्थ्यांचे सादरीकरण ठीक 1 वाजता सुरू होणार आहे. आपण सर्वांनी या सत्राला उपस्थित राहावे ही विनंती आहे. सदर संशोधन पद्धतीच्या कार्यशाळेचे चतुर्थ सत्र हँड्स ऑफ असाइनमेंट टेस्ट आणि व्हिडिओ गुगल क्लासरूमवर उपलब्ध होणार आहे. तरी सर्व संशोधक विद्यार्थी आणि संशोधक मार्गदर्शक यांना विनंती आहे की सर्वांनी गुगल क्लासरूमला जॉईन व्हावे आणि गुगल क्लासरूमवर दिलेल्या ऍक्टिव्हिटी त्या पूर्ण करणे अनिवार्य आहे. या नम्र विनंतीसह मी आपली रजा घेते. धन्यवाद.